Each week, American History TV's American Artifacts visits museums and historic places. Located on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., the National Gallery of Art was a gift to the American people from financier Andrew Mellon, who served as Treasury Secretary from 1921 to 1932. Up next, in the second of a two-part program, we visit the museum to learn about early American portrait painting. In this program, we feature the work of Gilbert Stuart, whose unfinished portrait of George Washington is the image on the $1 bill.
Gilbert Stuart went to study with Benjamin West early in his career and he worked in London for over 10 years. He was a very well-established painter in London, very proficient, and could have stayed in England painting, could have sold his paintings there, but he just accumulated debt. He made a good living, but he couldn't keep up with it. And so he left London and went to Dublin and spent a couple years there trying to get rid of his creditors, but the same thing happened to him in Dublin. He accumulated all sorts of debts, and he decided he would come to America and he would paint Washington, and he would make his fortune by painting Washington. So in 1793, he came to America. He didn't go to paint Washington immediately though. He stopped in New York City, and he painted there for about a year and a half. The first portrait Stuart did of Washington is called the Vaughn Portrait because it was commissioned by someone named Vaughn. Stuart did that portrait and then immediately had about 33 requests for 33 patrons who wanted copies of that portrait. So he made, maybe 12 or 13 copies, and then he got tired of doing that. And by that time, we have a Vaughn portrait not on view. We have one downstairs, the Vaughn Sinclair portrait, which is another replica of that. For a while, the gallery thought that our Vaughn portrait might have been the original that Stuart painted, but it's probably a very early copy because Stuart, late in his writings, wrote later that he had rubbed that one out because in the midst of making reproductions or making replicas of the Vaughn portrait, he got another commission from Arthur Washington for a portrait, which became the Athenaeum portrait, which was never finished, but is the one that that he preferred, was the one that was used on the dollar bill, and is the one that this is modeled after, this portrait. This one was a replica of the Athenaeum, but commissioned by a man named Gibbs. Gibbs commissioned a set of portraits of the first 5 presidents. So this is the portrait of Washington by Stuart for that Gibbs commission. And all of the replicas, it's an Athenaeum replica, but they're not all exactly the same, depending on how Stuart felt when he was doing the replica. So Stuart said that Washington was difficult to paint because he was so taciturn, and Stuart was known for his ability to chat people up when he was portraying them, was painting them, and that way they had a lively expression and it was better. Washington was not one to really suffer that glib kind of conversation that Stuart liked to partake in, so it was difficult to get Washington and they said that Washington, when he wasn't engaged in an idea or talking about something, when he was doing that, his features were very enlivened, but when he wasn't, his features just went slack. So he had no expression, which may be some of the trouble that Stuart had with him. But this is a very elegant portrait of the first father.
You can view this and all other American History TV programs at our website, cspan.org/history.